So have any of you seen this appliance before? Just the people who were here earlier? All right, well this is our Ball freshTECH automatic jam and jelly maker. It's the first of its kind in Northern America, and the great thing about it is it can make jams and jellies in less than 30 minutes. And even if you don't do canning or that's not your thing, this is a great way to kind of get your feet into it, check it out. And you don't even have to can it. You can freeze it, your jam or jelly, or you can enjoy it now, which I can talk about that in a little bit. But I honestly use mine so much that I keep it on my countertop. It's right next to my toaster, so it's something I use a lot. So hopefully maybe you'll be inspired and use it as much as I use mine. So we'll go ahead and get started. So my favorite recipe is the mixed berry recipe. And all of our produce today that we were using came from the Union Square Green Market, which is pretty cool that we have all this awesome food right here at our fingertips. So when you're making jam, does anyone here know the difference between jam and jelly? No? Perfect opportunity. So jam, you actually still have chunks of your berries or fruit in your product. A jelly, you're going to use a juice. So you can either juice your grapes or whatever yourself, which can be kind of time consuming. But since we like to make things everything simple and easy for you, actually all the recipes for our jelly and our automatic jam and jelly maker use store-bought juice. So that saves you a little extra time too. So what we do at the beginning, well the very first thing, let me back up. You want to pick out your recipe. You want to make sure you have all your ingredients for your recipe. That should always be the #1 thing that you do. Also, you want to make sure you have all the equipment necessary to make your recipe. So what I'm doing now is we actually have a mixed berry of strawberries and raspberries, and I'm just crushing with a potato masher. Now you'll want to crush with a masher versus going through like a food processor, because one, you want those chunks, and two, if you use a food processor, you can break down the natural pectins in your berry, and then you may end up with a softer set, which isn't necessarily a bad thing because you can use it for pancakes, syrup, or in I like to use it in plain yogurt as a little extra flavoring. It would be good in a smoothie. I've gotten onto the smoothie kick lately, so that's another great use if you do have jam that maybe doesn't set up to your liking. No worries, it's still usable. It's all good. So as you can see, let me lift this up here for all of you folks that are here. You can still see like there's a lot of chunks in there, but there's still a good bit of liquid in there as well. So we're just going to scoop this out my ladle and measure. So we have a booklet that comes along with this, and it's full of over 50 recipes for jams and jellies in different variations. So maybe you wanted to make a strawberry vanilla. We've got a recipe for that. One of my other favorites is a pepper jelly. I really like that one with cream cheese. It's delicious. So we did a little research and found out what our most popular recipes were, and developed this book just for that, to get everyone excited and do the recipes everyone likes. Now, however, if you purchase this and there's a recipe you don't see on there, you can go to freshpreserving.com, and on our website you can click on the word that says Jam Maker, and when you click on there we have a ton of additional recipes, even for reduced sugar, low sugar, no sugar, some kind of wild and crazy recipes that I'm going to do here in a bit. Actually, after I get this one going, I can show you, if time permits. We'll see what happens. Like I said, we've been having so much fun here today that time's flying by, which is a good thing. So I'll start with this one here. And it's really easy. So I've got my crushed berries. Like I said, you just follow, I've got the book somewhere. Oh, right here. The recipe booklet that comes with it. And we're going to pour these lovely berries in. And you don't have to worry about it being all perfect and all over. It stirs everything for you, so that's all fun. Again, making it easy. We add a little pectin, which is a naturally derived substance. It's found in like citrus and apple-based products. So what this does is it allows you to make your jams without having to cook it as much. So you get more of that fresh fruit flavor. Every time you use pectin, it helps with the gel and the set. And we have all the recipes that come in the booklet actually use our classic pectin, but you can use the low or no sugar pectin, which I mentioned before, and it comes in a package like this. It's a flex batch package. So with this jammer, you're going to use it's 3 tablespoons, I believe, but if you were to use this stovetop, then it actually opens up and kind of gives you a breakdown of how much pectin to use based on the quantity you want to make. So like at home, I may only have enough strawberries to make 2 jars or 3 jars. I crush them and I measure and see how much I have, and then I go on to freshpreserving.com and I pick out I go to the pectin calculator, it's the bottom left-hand part, and then it gives me the exact recipe for 3 jars, 7 jars. It might be an odd number, but we have it all figured out for you. Again, trying to make everyone's life easy when it comes to making foods and preserving, and we just like to have a good time here. So I put a little margarine in, which what this does is all fruits, well, your fruits and berries are going to have air trapped in them, and as they cook, they're all going to come out to the top, and you'll get like a foam. And so you have to skim that off if you're doing it on the stovetop. So if you add a little butter or margarine, then that's actually going to prevent the foaming from happening, and it saves you a step at the end of your process because you don't have to skim. So again, trying to make everyone's life easy and fun at the same time. So here on the front, let me move some of this stuff out for you. You're going to see our display, easy to use. It should be turned on, maybe. So hit jam, and then enter, and of course, we're missing power again up here. All right, well, someone can hopefully help us out with the power situation, but anyways, what would happen when you have electricity is it's going to actually start stirring. So here in our, actually I'll just go through the components. So this is the lid. It's a glass lid. It's got little vents on the side. So some of the recipes, the jam recipes, actually require you to put the lid on. The jelly recipes do not, but it's dishwasher safe. And if you're anything like me, I don't have time to hand wash. So this is a great benefit to that. Are we on? Yes, we are. Here we go. Jam and enter. And now it's stirring. So since you guys are sitting down here, you can't see, this is our Smart Stir technology. This is the stir that's inside. It's going to do all of the work for you. So you can actually like walk away. This is going to stir for 4 minutes and heat up, and then it's going to beep, and that's when I know to put the sugar in. So it's an opportunity for me to clean some dishes or go check my Facebook page, go check out the Ball Canning Facebook. I'm on there all the time. And the power's out. So this was actually developed right in our office, which is so cool to work somewhere where we're really doing development right there. Like I can walk right to our R&D team. It's really cool. So this is our Smart Stir technology. Stir. And then our pot has a non-stick coating on it. So the great thing is if you've ever made jam on your stovetop, you have to stir and stir and stir, and you don't want it to scorch and burn on your pot. So every time you use the jam maker, you're going to get jams and jellies that are going to be perfectly set the first time, the last time, 50th time, whatever, and you never have to worry about it burning, which I'm kind of hyperactive. I don't want to stand, and the power's out. The stovetop all the time. So that's what's kind of going on here. I'm going to listen for that, and in the meantime, what I'm going to do, anyone do any canning in here? Show of hands? No one? One, there we go. I'll take it. So quickly, I'm going to demonstrate how easy it is to do canning. And the great thing about actually preserving your food is that during the boiling process, you're actually killing any microorganisms and bacteria that may be present in your food. And because you did this, and you actually get a tight vacuum seal, your food is safe in your pantry for a year. We recommend eating it within 1 year after that. Some people keep their canned goods in their pantry for a lot longer than that. But after a year, the nutritional value starts to diminish as well as the quality. So something to think about. Canning is literally as easy as boiling water. It is super easy to do. And with jams and jellies, it only takes, let me get this out, it only takes 10 minutes. I mean, I'm a really busy person, but I've got 10 minutes. It's going to take me 10 minutes to do anything else. So this works out awesome. So here we go. I'm going to bring this over here. We actually had this one going. It's piping hot. I'm going to move this out of the way so you can see what I'm about to do. Because this is the important part. This is the fun stuff. This is what allows you to have those fresh flavors that you get right out here at the farmer's market all year long. Because there's nothing better, like in December when it's cold. Our office is in Indiana, so it's pretty cold and snowy there, and it's just nice to have those fresh flavors in the middle of the winter. All right, so I'm moving all of this out of the way. Awesome. So what I'm going to do here, we actually have our jars warming up in this crock pot. If I were at home, I would be doing it in you can do it in your water bath canner. You can actually warm them in a dishwasher. Whatever works best for you. I'm going to sit this on a towel just to make sure. Something you have to be careful with, these jars are glass, so there is a chance for thermal shock to occur. So you always want to make sure you have some kind of buffer. So you've got a buffer there. So you want to put hot food into hot jars, and then we're going to put it into hot water. Hence why some people call it hot water bath canning. All right. So this is our ball collapsible funnel. It's going to work for both your regular and your wide mouth jars. I'm simply just going to pour this in. So if you happen to put piping hot food into a room temperature jar, anyone know what might happen? Yeah, exactly, thermal shock. And a clear sign of that's typically when the bottom pops right off. So we get a lot of consumers who have that question. So it happens quite often. So it's always important, hot food, hot jars, into hot water. Oh, I'm good. So then what you want to do with this, your jams require a 1/4-inch headspace. So I'm going to wipe my, well, let's measure first. And I put it over here, of course. So we have a tool that will work for measuring the headspace, but something we've been highlighting today is our home discovery kit, which is this little green basket. And it comes with a recipe book and then 3 of the clear pint jars. And inside of the booklet, there are more recipes for like small batch canning, which would be great for that, or someone who's just new and wanting to get started. But there is a headspace tool printed on here, so you don't have to have the tool. But you could just kind of check, and the headspace is actually where the top of the food comes, and you measure to the top of the jar. And I look like I'm spot on. I must do this for a living. All right, so we have that, and wipe off the rim. You don't want any food. Did you hear that? Sugar time. So we just add the sugar when it beeps. Hopefully you all heard that. Pour that in. And at this point, since this is jam, we do want to put the lid on. So this is going to keep stirring now for the next, 17 minutes or so, I believe. Where was I? Don't do that at home. We do have a tool to help get your lids out, but it managed to stay in Indiana, but that's okay. So you want to place your lid on, center it, take your band, and you want to screw it down till it's just fingertip tight. Does anyone know what that means? No? Exactly, most people don't, which is fine, because we have a tool for that. It's hot. All right, there we go. So this is our ball SureType band tool, and it's going to work for both regular and wide mouth. So either size jar that you may have. And the cool thing is you just simply place it down, close it, and jars are hot. So you want to turn this until the handle actually bends on its own. So I'm not bending it. It did that on its own. So it's at the perfect torque, but I can demonstrate. There are 2 arrows. When they meet, you've got fingertip tight. Take our jar lifter, place this one in the canner. And you want to fill your jars 1 jar at a time. Again, this is a thermal shock issue. If you, what we call assembly line, fill your jars and all your jars are out on your counter and you start filling all of them up, you're going to have jars that are going to start to cool off as you're waiting to put that hot food in. So again, put it in the canner. Hopefully you don't experience it, but there is a chance for thermal shock. So just a little tip, something you'll want to think about. But each time you fill 1 jar at a time, hot jar, hot food. This smells amazing. I wish you could smell it. That's what we need to invent, something so you can smell over the internet. I think it'd be huge. Maybe. Let's check this, see how this looks. And check our headspace. We're good, wipe it off. Hot, hot, hot. Lid. And a band. So something to think about too whenever you're canning, your jars and your bands are reusable, but the lids are a one-time use product. So once they've been used for home canning, then you can repurpose them as, turn them into Christmas ornaments or use them for dry storage if you want to get, put like your sugar in your jars or whatever. You can certainly use them for dry storage or like crafting, other crafting ideas. So fingertip tight. Put this on in. Doesn't look too hard, right? It's pretty simple. A little redundant doing the same thing over and over, but it's fun. I actually love to get my, whenever I have friends visiting, I like to say I like to teach them how to can, but really it's more like I use them to help me. They don't realize it. They're like, this is fun. I'm like, yeah, you're helping me out. It's a good time. I do give them a jar, but they don't realize I have ulterior motives. Train and get some help. I actually use this appliance a ton last year at Christmas time because it makes 4 8-ounce jars. So actually this is from earlier today. 4 8-ounce jars, but I like to use them in our 4-ounce quilted crystal jars because then you get more gifts out of it. And I gave them to my mom and my brother and some friends of mine, and there's nothing better than giving like a homemade gift and then it's something that they can enjoy in the winter. I'm a big fan. All right. Looks good. Check headspace. About right. Wipe the rim. So the headspace, you want to leave, and it's going to vary by recipe, but the headspace is important because your food expands as it's processing. Also, too, it does affect your headspace does affect the seal. So you want to make sure that you always follow whatever the recipe states when it comes to headspace. It's one of those things you don't really want to mess around with. Same thing with the torque of your band. You want to make sure it's fingertip tight. Anyone know why? No? I'll tell you, don't worry. So what happens is when you're processing your jars, when you're actually canning, what's going on as it's killing the microorganisms and bacteria in your food, that lid needs to be able to actually kind of hover under that band, and if you put that band on too tight, that lid's not going to be able to do that, and you're going to experience lid buckling. And when you buckle a lid, you either need to enjoy your food, put it in the fridge and eat it right away, or you have to reprocess, and that's not necessarily always fun. So you want to just fingertip tight so that lid can actually kind of hover under there, let those gases come out, and that's going to pull down and get that tight vacuum seal. So it is a very important step that I think sometimes people kind of forget about how important that is. So that's a real tip today. Another tip too, I'm thinking about it, in Indiana where I am, I actually live in a house that has a well, so my water has a lot of minerals in it. And when I take my jars out of the canner, I'll get like a film on there. So to prevent that, I put some vinegar, like Heinz vinegar, just pour it in the water, and that'll prevent any residue from adhering to your jar. So it looks like this batch, we may not have enough for a full jar, but that's completely okay because when you just fill a jar and do the enjoy now method, which is you can just put it in your refrigerator, and then it's good to eat for 3 weeks. That's fine. I could eat this in 3 weeks. I'd have no problem doing that. Or you could also put it in a freezer-safe jar, which this jar is freezer-safe. It's got straight sides on it. And most of our packaging does tell you whether it's freezer-safe or not, so something to think about. But if you freeze, it's good for 1 year. And then when you remove it from the freezer and put it in your refrigerator, once it's open, you go back to the 3 weeks. And then if you preserve it, which is simply boiling for 10 minutes, then it's shelf-stable for a year. Again, when you open it up, 3 weeks. That's the magic number. So obviously, this particular batch, I don't have enough. And this can happen depending on the juiciness of your berries and how you crush them. This certainly can happen. So it's usually about 4 8-ounce jars. But I always like when it ends up this way so I can talk about the enjoy now method. So what I'm going to do now that we have the 3 full jars, let me back up a step. Again, look at the headspace. If I were to process this, it's kind of hot. Don't do this at home. You take a risk of having a seal failure. There's way too much air in there. You don't want to waste your food. You don't want to do that. You spend too much time picking it out or growing it yourself. You don't want to let anything go to waste. So don't risk it and process a jar that's not full to the correct headspace. That's my other tip. So I've got the 3 jars in here. I'm going to place my lid on once it's boiling. Because of time constraints, we're going to imagine like this is boiling. And once it's boiling, that's the part where you're going to start actually counting your processing time. So let's see, so when Ted was here, he was doing tomatoes, and it was like an hour and a half. So like everything has a different processing time, so it's always important to follow the recipe specifically. And for jams and jellies, this is why it's so simple. You crush some berries, you throw it in here, and you're done. And you can either just enjoy it now, or you can can it in 10 minutes. And if I were at home, I actually would be using this product, the 4 jars, even though it doesn't have the divots for 4. I'll just show you. Fit in. Like perfect. And I just use a stock pot, so I don't have to get my big canner out. Use less water, less energy. It's perfect. So something to think about. I'm a big fan of the Home Discovery Kit. It's probably one of my favorite products, just because I small batch myself. And then the last thing I really want to share with you, it's really important when it comes to the canning, is when you're done. Actually, this is the really hard part. When you're done and you take everything out, you want to place it on a towel and space them about 1 inch or 2 apart from each other as they cool. And you'll start to hear them ping and pop, and you get all excited because you know like you've done something awesome, and you think you're done, and you want to go touch and look, and you might notice the band's a little loose. Don't do it. Don't touch them. Leave them alone. It's so hard to not want to touch the food after you take it out. So take it out, leave it there for about 12 to 24 hours, let them cool completely. So 12 to 24. Like I said, it's hard. There are times where I want to go check and it's not time. So just be patient. It still will be there tomorrow, I promise. So check after 12 to 24 hours, and how you're going to check, there's a couple different things. A lot of people think that once they hear that ping, that they're done. But actually, your jars can ping and re-ping as it's still venting. So you may actually experience, we do have consumers who call in, they're like, my jar's pinged 3 times. Well, that can certainly happen as gases and the pressure inside goes out from under the lid and then pulls the lid back down. So normal. The lid's concave. Can't really show it on camera, but it's actually indented, and if I tap on it, it doesn't flex, right? Another thing you want to do is take your fingers and kind of go around the sides, see if it pops off. Now, if you use too much force, obviously it's going to pop off, but then you have jam, and that's fine too. But just something to do, kind of check. You also want to make sure you wipe around your rim, make sure there's no moisture there, and get that cleaned off. Now, we do have some consumers who like to store their jams and jellies or any of their food with the band on. You don't have to do that. You don't have to do that at all. You can actually take them off. Personally, we recommend, well, and I recommend too, to store them this way for a multitude of reasons. One, the band is reusable. So why have it stuck on a jar when you could be using it for another canning adventure? Another thing too is if you happen to keep some moisture, or maybe moisture's under your band and you leave it on, it may rust. And then you're going to have a very difficult time getting it off. And then my favorite reason for actually storing them without the band is, let's say you, hypothetically saying, you get busy in the kitchen and you actually under-process your food. You're like, I think it was 30 minutes or whatever the recipe states. And you're not really sure if your food is under-processed and the microorganisms and bacteria are still present. They're going to have a smorgasbord of delicious food in this jar to eat, and they're going to produce gases that are going to pop that lid off. And when that happens, let me tell you, you're going to see and smell and know that that food is unsafe to eat. So something to think about. I mean, it's a personal preference. I prefer without. You might prefer with on. Whatever is best for you. And while I'm thinking about it, the SureType band tool here will work to not only put your lids on, but you can use it to take your lids off. And then, I'm not going to do it to this jar, but you can actually use this end to pop it open, so you don't have to use a knife. I know I've cut my fingers a few times using a knife, which is not smart, but it happens. So something to think about. Any questions before we move on to anything else? Any questions online? We're good? That's awesome. How are we doing on time? Okay. So while this one's processing, I do have another recipe that I really like, and the cool thing about this one, it's a pineapple mango chili recipe. Unfortunately, we broke one of our dishes earlier, the beauty of live demos, so I'm gonna have to reuse this dish, but that's okay. So I love this recipe for a couple of reasons. One, it just sounds interesting, and 2, you don't have to necessarily eat it just as a jam. I like to put it on a grilled chicken breast or on a pork chop, Jam doesn't have to be just jam. It can be part of a marinade. Like I said earlier too, smoothies, anything that you might like to add a little fresh fruit flavor to, something to think about. So this one, again, we're going to crush and with our potato masher. And the pineapple, obviously, if it's a little juicier, it's going to be a lot easier to mash through. So this is where you get your workout in, or if the kids are full of energy, this is when you get them in the kitchen, have them burn some of that off. And this is the fun part, too. I know my best friend, she likes to have her kids help with this part. They think it's cool and fun. I think it's a little bit of work, but that's okay. We're going to keep crushing. So again, potato masher to crush, and we do one layer at a time. And it works out pretty well with most of the recipes for your jammers that you're just going to pretty much usually have just one layer that will fill up the recipe. So that's nice. Otherwise, you would scoop it out and then measure, and then do another layer and scoop out and measure. And a question we had earlier too today was the difference between jams and preserves. So while I'm crushing, so a preserve would actually be like your full berry. So like a strawberry, you wouldn't mash it like a jam. You would keep it in its full state. So, and unfortunately, we don't have a recipe for marmalades or preserves yet in the jammer. But if you have enough interest, just go onto our Facebook page or our website and let us know what you're looking for if you don't see a recipe that you like. Chances are, if we have enough interest, we actually will go ahead and develop that. We actually, I think it was maybe Monday I got the email. We just posted a whole bunch of new recipes on freshpreserving.com for the jammer, so kind of perfect timing for our big event today. So pectin, and my ladle. Be an interesting flavor. And a measuring cup. All right. Let's measure this out. So the same thing, measure out your quantity, put it in your jammer. Pretty simple. Do we have everyone on board here? Is that what we're doing? Scoop, scoop, scoop. Making a little bit of a mess. The canning's fun. There we go. So with this recipe, we're going to put our mango and pineapple in. Pour that in with our pectin. Add our little dab of butter. Drop. And move these out of the way. Here we go. Jam, enter. Awesome. So here in about, 17 minutes or so, 20 minutes, we're going to have an awesome pineapple mango chili jam, which, like I said, I think would go great on meat. So think outside the box sometime. That's the beauty of canning. You can always add those dry ingredients, like I mentioned with Rick and Ted. You know, get a little crazy and maybe add it to your yogurt, add it to, as a marinade to your fish or steak, or, like I said, grilled chicken, this would be amazing on. So something to think about, and hopefully, maybe this is something you'd like to try. And we do have a deal for our online friends. If you use Easy2Can 13, you will get free shipping and 10% off of all orders over $25. So certainly if you want to purchase the jammer, great opportunity for that. If you can't find your jars in your local store, jars are kind of expensive to ship, so this is the perfect time to take advantage of that free shipping. I know we get a lot of requests on our Facebook page about deals and whatnot. This is a great one. So hopefully if you're tuning in online that you'll go ahead and take advantage of that. And without further ado, I think that kind of wraps up our, we have a question.
Not a question, but just an short announcement. Due to some tech issues online, we're keeping the online giveaway open for another hour.
Ooh.
So we'll post on our comment feed and Facebook and Twitter after 3 p.m. today.
Awesome. So in hashtag CanItForward, that's the big hashtag of the day. So to follow along with the conversation, you'll want to use the hashtag CanItForward. And now we have that great deal available for a whole nother hour. It's awesome. So hopefully you take advantage of that. And we have Ted coming up to join me.
Yay!
I'm like covered in butter.
It smells really good up here.
I know. It's amazing. You should get one.
You're jamming, baby.
I am jamming.
You should have a shirt that says I'm jamming.
I should.
You are quite literally jamming.
I am jamming. I've been jamming most of the day. It's been pretty great. So you were talking about dancing. It's kind of like dancing, a little jamming up here.
Yeah, I have learned that I should not dance on camera, so I'm just not going to do it.
I'm not easily embarrassed, so whatever.
You might not be as embarrassing.
Whatever. We're Boilermakers. We don't get embarrassed.
That's true. We are. Hail Purdue. So I think we've had a lot of fun talking about great recipes and simple techniques. And
Definitely.
And now Ball says they're going to give me an automatic jam maker.
Oh, you're going to love it.
I could think of lots of stuff you could do with that. You could wash your clothes. No, maybe not.
Maybe.
So this is just because to make jam properly, you need that constant motion.
Right, so if you're on your stovetop, you'd have to stand and stir and stir and stir. And so this gives me, like, personally at home, I go check my Facebook, I may go pay some bills, I'm a little obsessive compulsive, so I like to wash my dishes. So I'm actually at my sink, and as long as you're here in earshot, 4 minutes later it beeps, you put your sugar in, you can walk away for like 17 minutes.
You know what else you could do with that? You could make risotto.
I go for it.
You know?
And
I mean, it's not really true that you don't really have to stir risotto constantly, but that's very gentle the way it's moving.
Yeah,
so.
and I'll make sure it incorporates everything, all those flavors, and it just keeps stirring for you, and it's awesome because nothing's going to stick. It's all non-stick, so you don't have to worry about any scorching. And we actually encourage people, all of our consumers, to try new recipes in it. Obviously, we're going to guarantee the products that we have tested. We know they're going to be safe, but we always have consumers posting on our Facebook page doing all kinds of fun things with this appliance. So it's a fun thing.
Yeah, I'm also in a business that involves reaching out to a large number of the public, both online and television. People do all sorts of crazy stuff.
Right?
People are crazy.
But it's fun.
But this is about creativity.
Exactly.
And about celebrating and sharing, sharing the bounty, sharing your talents and your craft. And I think it couldn't be more fun.
Exactly. And you got to go ahead and can it forward and have it in those fresh flavors. You can share them for other, your friends and family. And I love your drink idea. That is awesome. I'm totally going to steal that one. I'm going to.
Steal that.
Absolutely. But that's a great thing about canning.
Absolutely.
It's fun and easy, and you can share forward. So hopefully if you're watching online that you've been canning it forward with us too. And if not, get started. It's easy, it's fun, it's for everyone. It's as easy as boiling water. I couldn't think of anything more fun and simple. It's food.
Works for me.
Exactly.
All right, guys. So can it forward. Thanks.